Hi, today I'm going to be talking about sensitivity readers and authors and why intersectionality within fiction is more important now than ever. And today I'm going to be using Love Simon, Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda, Love Victor, and Giovanni's Room in order to discuss. So, Simon versus the Homo sapiens versus Love Simon versus Love Victor. It's a lot, I know. So to start off, let's get to know the original story. So Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda was written by Becky Albertalli and was published in 2015. And it basically follows our main character Simon as he is forcefully outed to his high school because someone basically steals his emails and then releases them out, and he's basically forced to come out. And as a result, it just follows him coming to terms with his sexuality, realizing that he's gay, coming out to his parents, his friends, and it's just an overall good young adult novel. The second, Love Simon, is actually a film adaptation of the book by Albertalli. It was released in 2019, and like other film adaptations, many characters and events are removed, and there's a couple plot holes that in the movie don't really make sense, but if you read the book, you kind of understand why this and that happens. And then the third thing, Love Victor, which has just recently been released in 2020, is a television series that is set in the Love Simon universe, not the book. And it basically follows a Puerto Rican Colombian teenage boy who is actually upset at Simon for having the perfect life. Alright, so when it comes to Becky Albertalli and this issue, a lot of people felt that she was profiting off the LGBTQ community, and many critics argued that by writing a novel like Simon versus the Homo sapien agenda, Becky was actually profiting from this community and was taking up room for minority authors who actually have these authentic experiences. And a lot of people were just very upset over the fact that this cisgender straight woman was writing a story about a gay man and specifically a gay teenage boy. And it's like she really had no idea what it was like to be a gay teenage boy because she was a woman. So there's a lot of hate thrown at her, and a lot of people were arguing. And eventually, as the movie finally came out, a lot of people who had not read the novel and watched the movie instead realized also that she was like a straight woman and were even more upset. So she received extra hate mail, extra criticism, and in response, she writes this letter where she states that after being attacked so much on social media, she was forced in a way to come out as a bisexual woman. And she states that, but labels change sometimes. That's what everyone always says, right? It's okay if you're not out. It's okay if you're not ready. It's okay if you don't fully understand your identity yet. There's no time limit, no age limit, no one no one way, no one right way to be queer. And it was kind of pretty sad over the fact that she was forced to come out the same way that her character was forced. And in the letter, she writes that she was subconsciously writing about Simon in a way that she was writing about herself, and she didn't really know that she was a bisexual woman because she had never kissed another woman, she had never been with another woman, but she has had feelings for another woman. And Brianna Bennett, this critic, writes that, which I love what she says. She says, first, who decided that queer books need to be written by queer individuals? Moreover, when did they decide that? Why is an author's sexuality so important to a story about love and inclusion? So, Giovanni's Room. James Baldwin is considered the father of queer black and brown literature. He's one of the top tier people that you think about when you think of stories like these. But one of his most recognized novels and most beautiful novels, in my opinion, actually revolves around a story of a white man in Paris. And at the time, Baldwin was in Paris, but the issue with a lot of his readers were that why did this black man in Paris decide to write a story about a white man in Paris? Why didn't he write it about himself? And in response, in an interview, Baldwin talked about how the sexual question actually comes after the question of color. It's simply one more aspect of the danger in which all black people live. So for Baldwin, it was difficult to find a place where he could both coexist as a black homosexual man, and as a result, he felt that to be a gay black man meant that you were not a man at all. And essentially, this ideology of his race over sexuality within a patriarchal society can be seen within the entire text, and especially by the character of David himself, with like how he can't accept himself. I feel like we actually must look at Baldwin's decision to write from a white man's perspective and kind of, in a way, level it in the same way that Albert Albertalli decided to write from a gay man's perspective. And if we actually attempt to invalidate their stories, I feel like we're erasing other aspects of themselves. For example, yes, James Baldwin is not a gay white man, but he is a gay man. He can write about the aspects of being a gay man. He might not know exactly what it's like to be a white man, but he does understand that feeling of being a gay man. The same way that Albertalli, although she is not a queer man, although she's not like a man, she is part of that marginalized group that's always like, in a way, attacked. And I feel like that because of this, if we continue to invalidate these people's stories, we're actually erasing them as a whole. And this is why intersectionality must be taken into consideration, because when you think of intersectionality, you can actually think of all the different aspects that make an individual, not just one thing. So continuing on with this conversation of intersectionality, I have linked a TED Talk in which Kimberly Crenshaw uses the term intersectionality to help in depicting how dangerous the reality of an uneducated individual can lead to not just prejudice, but also violence. And the TED Talk is honestly amazing. Please watch the first 5 minutes of it. It's really eye-opening in the way that she uses it to her advantage, but also uses it to show the disadvantages of it. And the issue is I feel like this issue is why intersectionality within literature is so important, because it not only avoids the erasure of marginalized groups, but also it stops us from creating these single stories that so often happen. Because if we attempt to present only one narrative of a person, that narrative becomes the single story and the essence of that entire group. So a couple responses and solutions to this issue, I feel, are intersectionality, #own voices, and sensitivity readers. So in order to understand intersectionality, we have to educate ourselves on it and be able to educate others on it. And I feel like the #own voices is a really great tool in which an author, Corinne Duvis, wants to highlight stories that are written by authors who share the same marginalized identities as their characters. So if a reader feels like picking up a book written by a queer author over a queer character, then they can always just look up #own voices. Sensitivity readers is a way for publishing companies and authors to stop writing hurtful, inaccurate, or inappropriate depictions of characters. In conclusion, as we push for diversity in fiction and overall in any form of literature, it is important for us to acknowledge what intersectionality is, how we can use it, how it also affects people negatively, and lastly, being able to understand that as humans, sometimes we do make mistakes and we have to live up to it. Thank you so much. Here's my works cited.